I've been coming to Cash Game Festival for some time now. The games are amazing, the people are amazing, like, look at the venue. You meet so many amazing people here. That's one of the things that I really value here.
The atmosphere at the table is really nice. It's been really nice chatty table.
Well, it's totally amazing. It's definitely the best hotel I've ever been to.
You are not only in for the games, but every night there are these fun side activities, and it's always nice to have these activities.
Hello everybody, this is Jason Glatzer from the Cash Game Festival. Happy to be here for our second ever short deck stream. The rules are a little bit different than what you saw last time. Instead of there being a small blind and a big blind, everybody will put in a €2 ante, and the button will put in an extra €2. For those of you not familiar with short deck, the 2s through 5s are removed from the deck, so it is a 36 card deck. We do have an action lineup. A straight can be made with an ace as a low, so ace, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a straight. And the last rule to keep in mind, that a flush, which is harder to get in a short deck game, beats a full house. It is a no limit game, so expect to see a bit of action here. We have familiar faces. You see Nick over there. Ante is a new face, and they are playing the Jack-6 game. If you're wondering why Ante is 3-betting here with Jack-6, that is an awful hand in this game. But if Ante takes down the hand with Jack-6, he will get €15 from each player. So they're playing a special game here. And Franke flopping middle pair, not super strong in this game. Let's see if he bets though. He will likely get the fold unless Ante is going to be being a little cute here with the Jack-6 game. He bets rather big to 88, so a pot size bet. Ante thinking over whether he has any fold equity or maybe just trying to put some timing tells down. He really didn't hit anything here. He can't continue along. And Franke wins the first pot. And if you're having trouble hearing me, I'll try to speak loudly, but the feature table, which isn't that far away from me, is being very loud. They're having a lot of fun. It is an action game. More action than some of the pot limit games even. So expect to see some fireworks. And we have another player here, so we're going to be 8-handed instead of 7-handed. That's Stephen Vellateri, about to take a seat in C2. We see James, Sam, Alex, Nick, George, and Ante, and now Stephen at the table. These are all players that aren't afraid to gamble a little bit when they feel they have some small edges, especially when they have some big edges, so let's see what happens. Franke is happy that he won this first hand. We even have George there in seat 8, the commentator. This is why I'm in the booth. George, I wouldn't say is a short deck specialist, but he certainly knows the game better than most. He did win a short deck tournament once, but he admitted to me before he went on that he hasn't played a lot of short deck cash, if any. So I don't think there's any huge edge by anybody at the table. And my short deck strategy is limited as well. I obviously know the rules. I know how it's played out. It doesn't mean I know when somebody's making a good play or a bad play, on what levels players are thinking, etc., etc., etc. So Franke folding. He's not going to play every hand. A quick fold by Sam. Ante also folding his King 7. Let's see what George has. Ace 6 in the muck. Nick has position, liking the Queen 9. And it looks like Steven isn't in the system yet. It's skipping right over to Alex. So this could throw things off. But we do have Steven in the hand. And they not sure if Steven 3-bet. It looks like that's a raise anyway, because Nick just limped and called. Nick shows his queen 9. Steven takes down his first hand at the table as well. Well done. So if any of you watching have any questions about short deck, I'll do my best to answer them for you. I will be paying attention to the chat on Twitch and then peeking into the chat also on Facebook. You could see the emotion in the players. Everybody's happy to be playing. This will definitely be a fun stream for the players, for you guys to watch, and of course for me to commentate as well. It looks like there's some drinks on the table. That normally helps loosen up the action a little bit as well.
I only heard of it once, but never did it.
Same with the big slick from under the gun. He's definitely going to be playing this hand. George with the Jack-8 making the call. There is more limping usually in short deck. I am not sure that we're going to see that all stream long, but you shouldn't be surprised to see limping going on. Looks like Steven is in the system now. He's thinking about what to do. He has Jack-9 calling along. It looks like this is going to be a family pot to some degree. 5 of the 8 players in the hand. And the 7-8 queen rainbow flop hits Jimmy pretty decently. He has a straight draw. Frankie with the top pair.
9.
Steven with a gut shot showing a lot of equity. I'm not quite sure why. But Jimmy with the most equity despite not directly hitting the board with his open-end straight draw. Jimmy taking advantage of the fact that he has a straight draw. You may have remembered James from last night's Action 2-5 stream. Frankie would have had 2 pair now, but instead it's Steven ahead with just the Jack actually being in the lead with the kicker here. Steven checks. Let's see if Jimmy continues his story. He does. He's betting out rather large here. It looks like a bet of 50 euros into a pot of 76. That will likely be enough. Nick wants to just shove his stack in with no cards, it looks like. And it does. It does the trick. We'll never know whether he would have hit that straight, but does win the hand, wins a nice early pot. Well done, James. Tip over to the dealer. And hope everybody's doing well this Friday evening. I am excited to be here at Banco Casino. I'm excited to actually do commentating of my first ever short deck stream. I have played short deck at the last Cash Game Festival, but the format was completely different. This is the more ideal format with all players having a €2 ante button with another €2 going in. The only rule that you have to consider differently from Hold'em, because the 2s through 5s are removed from the deck, is that a flush beats a full house. Also an ace, as it does a normal Hold'em, acts as a low card, so ace, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the low straight. So Nick raising it up to 20 right away. We don't know what he has, but Alex feeling he's confident enough to call with this Queen 10 suited. Sam folding on the button here. Alex with the open ender. We do not know what Nick has. Nick has his cards on the reader though, so we can't fault him for this.
25.
Once in a while the reader won't pick up the cards, so
3 calls.
usually it's the player's fault for not putting the cards on the reader. The 6 at least does not help Alex. Does it help Nick, or can Nick rep something? I mean, a 6 is not usually a card that helps anyone, but maybe Nick has some spades. We can feel pretty comfortable that Nick does not have pocket 6s though. At least that shouldn't be in his range to raise to 20. Nick is all in though. The whole lot is in 163. That's an overbet. It's going to be tough for Alex to call here. He could be ahead. He does have some outs. He improves to Broadway if the ace comes. The issue is if Nick has ace 10, he's basically just drawing to a chop.
Okay. Would anyone like to buy out for 10?
And it looks like we got a fold from Alex.
Would anybody like to buy out for 12?
Is Nick showing one? It looks like Nick shows. Nick had the Jack 6, it looks like, because everybody's giving him 15 euros. That is why he raised to 20, folks.
Jack 6 value.
In the Jack 6 game that they are playing, all players will be giving a player that wins with Jack 6 15 euros. So in normal short deck, Jack 6 goes instant into the muck. In this case, it earned Nick an extra 100 plus euros. Hey, Carpet Catcher, hope all is well. And hey, J Knot as well. And for those of you watching on Facebook, I'll try to pay attention to your chat as well. I'm paying more attention to the Twitch chat, but I can multitask. So Ante over there in seat 7 is a relatively new player, not one that I know from the Cash Game Festival. I've seen him around, appearing on the TV table on our first short deck stream we've ever held in Bratislava, and our second that we've ever held at a Cash Game Festival. So George limping his ace-king suited. It looks like a lot of players are calling, a lot of Broadway hands out there. We may only see raises when players have Jack 6.
Check.
So 2 clubs on the flop. That doesn't really matter too much for anyone, but the Queen 9-6. Frankie with a gut shot, Sam with top pair, and the better kicker than Ante, who also flopped top pair. George seems to have some equity with his ace-king suited, even though he didn't hit any spades and didn't hit an ace or king. But anyway, George throws his hand away. And I'm not sure why George had that equity, but we have the 2 players with top pair continuing along. The 6 pairs the board. If this was a hand where somebody was sneaky with Jack 6, they would be in heaven right now. But it's typically, I think we're going to see players do as Nick did there and raise a bit to thin out the herd with Jack 6, so you have a better chance of just bullying your way through. Sam just tossing the lot in there. Will Ante be calling? For this game, I would say stacks aren't so deep right now. Most players bought in for 100 big blinds, for 100 antes. And the reason they gave me before I hopped in the booth was that they plan to reload a bit and they don't want to make it super expensive. That they don't mind it costing a little at the end, but if they're putting in 500 at 1,000 a pop in a 2-2 game, then it can really get expensive. Glad you're having a relaxed weekend, Carpet Catcher.
He's like 50. Yeah.
I'm also having a relaxed weekend, but I'm here in Bratislava, playing poker, working with the Cash Game Festival, having a blast. I love Banco Casino. This place is the nuts. Free drinks when you're playing, food coming out all the time, staff getting you what you want, as quick as possible, and you never have to wait for a game to start.
Hope he doesn't have a boat.
And I'll toss a bullet in the 50 grand as well on Sunday. There's a Hyper Turbo stack. I'll be done working. We'll see if I can spin up the Hyper Turbo fight. If not, I'll be more than happy to come back and play cash games. It's good to see these guys having a good time. The short deck table in Sunny Beach, it seemed players were more nervous. They weren't joking around like this table is. Everybody having fun. Let's see what Nick does here. It's either going to most likely be, unless he wants to balance his Jack-6 range, it's going to be a call or fold, and he folds. I don't know if there's such a thing as balancing your Jack-6 range, but it seems like players aren't raising unless they have the Jack-6 very often. Although, as I say that, we see Steven, Steven does limp with the Queen-10. It's not really a limp when there hasn't been a bet made yet, but it's a min bet of 2, and I may be calling it limp. Franke with the Jack-6, and here we go. But Jimmy was raising with the Ace-Queen, up to 20, and Franke not just tossing the lot in with an extra 100 euros of equity from his opponents if he can win the hand with Jack-6. He may just try to do some fancy play syndrome post-flop, or may give up on the hand if nothing is doing. George coming along and Steven coming along as well. So this pot's already built up to 96 euros, folks. 16 from the antes. And the Ace Jack 7 flop, Jimmy flopping top pair. Franke with a little bit equity with his Jack 6 as well. Steven with a gut shot. Straight draw, and George with a different gut shot. Franke just jamming in the lot. Feels he has some equity here. Jimmy's probably priced into call. I think he'll get 2 folds from everybody else. If Jimmy calls, it is a flip situation somehow, though. Not quite sure if... Ooh, the 6 comes on the turn. Amazing Franke. Not only did Franke win the Jack-6 game, he collected a pot of 496 euros. He will also be getting 15 euros from each of his 7 opponents, so another 105 euros there. So 379 euro profit there from Franke. Building up his stack. I didn't know Franke could play short deck, but apparently he can play when there's a Jack-6 game involved at least. There is no earthquake going on, folks. If the screen is shaking for you, it's likely someone from the wait staff accidentally bumped into one of our cameras. The screen should be stabilizing again soon.
So 4 busted and plus 185. 195 on position number 4.
So for those of you just tuning in, this is a short deck ante only game. The ante is €2. The button puts in an extra €2. Short deck means that the 2s through 5s are removed from the deck, hence making the deck short. For a 36 card deck, flushes beat a full house, and an ace can act as a low card for a straight. So ace 6, 7, 8, 9 is the lowest possible straight. Other than that, it's a no limit game, an action table. Sit back and have a good time. So we don't know what Steven has. His cards are kind of on the way there. It does look like he limped with this mystery hand, though. No, he raised to 20, so we could range him on Jack 6 maybe. Franke coming along with Ace 10. Franke is currently the big winners so far on this table, but we have a bit of time left to go, and we're not too far deep into the stream yet. And not the best of flops for Franke. No clubs, but maybe if he's putting Steven on a Jack-6 kind of hand, he will try to bluff him off it anyway. But not so much equity if he does. Franke will be, it says check, but Franke is firing out a bet. That's a bet of 80 euros. Graphics have caught up, folks. And we don't know what Steven has. I'm ranging him on Jack-6 only because of the Jack-6 game, and we haven't really seen him raise before. Is he showing? Oh, he's Ace-Queen. Interesting. So Franke getting the better of his opponent there. It isn't really the best flop to just commit your stack to, but Steven's stack also wasn't that big to start the hand, to toss it in a 20 raise and then fold when you flop top pair. Flushes are much harder to get in this game. There's less combinations of flushes with 4 of each suit removed from the deck. Certainly Jack-10 is kind of in a calling range for players. And players are having fun. Dealer shuffling up for the next hand. We should be rooting for George as he's left the booth to play in the action. He may have a bullseye in his head, though, if he's said anything bad about any of the players, but I doubt George would ever do that. And on to the next hand. So Alex with the 6s, those will probably be tossed away. Yes, they are. Looks like a call there by Jimmy with the 9-10. Franke will likely be playing this hand as well. He raises this hand actually, so it's up to 10. George coming along with his jacking off. Nick with the pocket jacks will likely do the same. Unfortunately for him, George has one of his jacks. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Steven also come along from the button. And Steven didn't just come along, Steven jammed the lot. Franke calling. Steven's a little bit ahead with his ace-10. I know, Franke looks like he folded, I'm sorry. Nick getting it in though, and George getting it in. So we are going three-way. Oh no, so Nick did not get it in. It was kind of a, or did Nick get it in? It looked like Nick did get it in, and George flopping top pair. Looking good to win a big pot. If a 7 comes, it's Trouble City. George wins the hand. Effectively doubles up his 200 euro starting stack. Steven showing his ace-10, and I don't know if Nick is going to show his jacks. He does flip over his jacks. So while we're waiting for the next hand, let me tell you a little bit about the Cash Game Festival Pokio Club. If you download Pokio and join club number 100197, you can play most of the games that you see on the stream. Short Deck is not one of them quite yet, but you can play PLO 4-5, you can play Speed Special, you can obviously play No Limit Hold'em, you can play Open Face Chinese, and you can also win packages to the Cash Game Festival by joining the club. The good news is during this stream, players that do sign up during this stream, we will choose 4 of you for a 25 euro prize just by letting us know you signed up and putting in your nickname. So a nice little starter pack for you. I think we can hear the feature table from down the street. These guys are having such a good time. They're yelling and screaming. I think we're going to see a bunch of fireworks in the coming hands just from what I can hear out loud. There's a lot of chips out there on the table, so I'm not quite sure what's happening. Are those straddles? Are they just blind raises? I think we will figure this out. Is it a bump pot? There's 118 in the pot, so it looks like a bump pot just going straight to the flop. No, we're catching up with the action now. So Frankie. What is going on, folks? There's more than 800 euros in this pot. So was it a bump pot? Basically just a flip? Everybody's in the hand, so it must be some kind of flip going on. Not much strategy in this hand, folks, but it is certainly a big pot. Sam with the full house with the ace-10. Sam Clark, the winner of the big flip here. So it was just a bump pot with no options of betting on post-flop either. So basically just a 100 € flip for each player.
Don't worry, I stack off this hand anyway, so like, save myself.
Well done, Stam. You obviously flipped very well. Maybe they did it because of a dealer change. And that's a temporary chip count. Some of the short stacks need to reload. It's also possible with all the wild action that some of the stack updates and maybe some players reloaded, etc.
C1 is playing 280.
And
Yeah?
Some crazy stuff going on
200
here.
more C7 and C2.
It looks like we're back to normal. All players putting in a €2 ante. Button putting in that extra €2.
Like raise 10.
Frankie opening up to 10. A raise to 50.
50.
So now we can see what Frankie had. He had the King Jack.
One pass.
Sam with the big slick making the raise to 50. Everybody folding around. Steven getting involved with the King 10 and Frankie likely to also come along. So a nice pot heading to the flop here. Sam flopping top pair with his ace king. Has a huge amount of equity. Not so many ace 6, ace 7, 7 6, pair of 7s, pair of 6s kind of combinations for his opponent. So he should feel pretty good. His ace king is good here at this point in time. And he is betting that way. And does take down the pot. So he wins a flip, he wins a hand. Life is good right now for Sam. First player over 1K at the table. Looks like we're having a dealer change. Or at least a dealer discussion.
Let's hope for 1-1. Let's hope for Jack 6 or 0.
So those of you watching, what are you doing this weekend? Any big plans? You can still come out to Bratislava. Cheap flights are to be had. If you can't find one directly to Bratislava, there's also cheap flights to Vienna, which is a 40-minute bus ride for €5, and to Prague, which is also not too far away, and also a cheap bus ride away. Sam raising it up to 25. We do not know what he has. Oh, it's a bump pot again for the dealer change, this time for 25. So let's see if it's a bump pot and some action post flop, or if it's just a bump pot and a flip. It looks like they're doing flips for 100, so I'm guessing the bump pot here, there will be some betting allowed. 216 euros already in the pot, though. This game is getting wild right from the start. Checking around to Nick, who doesn't flop very well with his ace-king. Steven, next act, has the second nuts. Obviously, 10 queen beats him, but also has an open-ended straight flush draw. Not surprising, he is all in. And it will be surprising if we see anybody call. Franke thinking it over, though. Franke, with the open-ender himself, has a backdoor flush draw as well, which are very hard to hit in short deck. Even harder than Hold'em, which is also not the easiest. And this should slide all the way around. I don't see George calling with top pair on this wet board. He is thinking it over, though. He has played with Steven. George thinking about whether he has the best hand or not. He would be drawing almost dead. I mean, it's showing 8% equity. He would need basically the other jacks and aces to pop out.
I'm not sure you can say that either.
He also has Nick after him to act, which should be some consideration, even if he's putting Steven's range on not necessarily the second nuts or better. Does make the fold, and I don't see how Nick is calling here. Nick would basically need 2 diamonds to come out, and Steven has 2 of them in his hand. Nick making the call. No, Nick not making the call. Oh, Nick did make the call. What's going on here? Steven with the check mark. Back in business for Steven, up to 458 euros. This is what a bump pot does, though. If the pot wasn't so big, the action would have been way different in that hand. So unless this James is reloaded, he is sitting on a tiny stack of 53 euro. Sam is sitting on the biggest stack of over 1K.
Doesn't even admit to it either. Like when I say, oh, you know, I'm in that. He's like, yeah, whatever, pay me.
It's cold. One cold, 2 cold, 3 cold, 4 cold, 5 raise.
Alright, some more action. Nick with the pocket kings. We haven't seen a hand that good yet. Franke with the ladies getting it in. George may decide he has fairly good equity this hand. He does not, but he may decide to just gamble along. This will be a monster pot. Maybe not monster, because Nick only has 126. I don't see Steven coming along with the 7s or Alex coming along with the ace-10. But Nick in prime position to double here. I'm not sure how Steven has more equity with his 7s according to what we see here than Nick with the kings. That cannot be correct. And Nick, this is more correct, where Nick has a pretty big advantage over Franke. Looks like they're just running it once. And maybe that's why. Maybe somehow they knew a 7 was coming. And Nick's kings hold. Doubles up. Nice little pot for him. Does not have to take more euro out of his pocket. And Franke's stack is now back down to earth a bit, but still up over his 200 euro starting stack. Here's a look at the chip count. Sam, who won that big flip of 100 euro from each player, and then won a nice hand right after, up around 1,000 euro. The rest of the players have a nice range of stacks. Hey Donna, thanks for popping in. Hope all is well. Hope you have a spectacular weekend planned. Also, hope you have time to join us the rest of the weekend too. George will be back when he's done playing to commentate the Hold'em table tonight. And then tomorrow we have a 1-3 Hold'em followed by an Action 5-5 Omaha game, 5-card game. And then to wrap things up for the Cash Game Festival TV table schedule will be 2-2 Sviten Special. So Jimmy jamming his short stack of 49. Franke over jamming with Queen 9. I may not know a lot about short deck, but I know Queen 9 is not one of your premium hands. And Sam getting it in with Ace Queen. So Sam looking in a good spot to win quite a bit. Although Jimmy's equity doesn't look that bad, but there's a nice side pot with Franke, so unless there's the Queen 9 somehow connects better than the Ace Queen, post flop, Sam will still make money this hand. Jimmy showing the 10.
By the river?
Ah.
By the river.
A 10 shown and the 10, the first card out of the window. And Ace Queen looking good for the side pot. Jimmy wins the main pot with a straight. And Franke looks like he's going to have to reload. If anybody can multitask on it, it is you. I think I've watched like 2 streams at the same time, going back and forth in the volume, and I've seen you in both before, so let's see if you can make that happen.
Yeah.
So Sam picks up a few more chips. He's having a very good start here. If he keeps winning like this, he's going to be in great shape to win the package. There's a mixed game, a special mixed game trophy for stream players. So this table and the Sviten Special table tomorrow, the player that wins the most antes or big blinds will win the trophy and a package to the Cash Game Festival in Bucharest. Don, are you able to hear me over what's going on there? It sounds like in 20 minutes we're going to hear something spectacular happening. Six streams at once. That's tremendous, Donna. I can't even multi-table 6 tables of online poker anymore. So Franke just gambling here. He does have suited connectors. George is not going anywhere. Aces are still the best hand, even in short deck. They aren't too far off in equity, though. It is a 60-40 split. Let's see if George can take the pot off Franke. Let's see how many times they're running this baby. It looks like once.
Oh, what a
And Franke flopping the goods.
Oh, no, good card.
So if a 7, oh my god. So Franke flopped the nuts there, and then runner full house for George. That is absolutely sick. Wow. I mean, all the money was in pre-flop, but it's still such a sick run out. It was like 95% likely Franke would win once that flop came. Wow. That one has to sting a little bit.
Position 6, 200.
Jealousy. Jealousy.
Wow, that's just sick. I mean, well done, George. You did have the aces. You did have the best hand pre-flop. That wasn't the issue here. When the money got in good, you were ahead. It's just when you see that, it's so heartbreaking. You feel that you have the hand wrapped up when you flop the absolute nuts. Very little bit in the way of possibilities for George to get back in the hand. And then the board pairs, and then he needed just to fade a 7 or ace, and the 7 comes up again on the board. Frankie back in play though, just a bit of a heartbreaking situation. For those of you just tuning in, this is Jason Glatzer from the Cash Game Festival.
Free call.
Your regular commentator, George, is on the table. He just won that hand there.
4 call. 5 call. 6 call.
I will likely play the Sveten stream tomorrow. I know George was pretty excited about playing on this table particularly. There is a lot of action going on. Maybe not this hand where everybody's limping, but in general, yes. And at any moment you could see fireworks erupt. Doesn't look like anybody has a queen in his hand, but Alex can't feel too comfortable with his overpair there.
3, 4, check.
Now let's see if anybody makes a stab at it. It looks like it is Franke making a stab with the 9-6. Sam calling with the flush draw. A flush does beat a full house in this situation, otherwise he probably would not be making the call here. And Sam now pairing the board, so he has 2 pair.
Showdowns.
And Franke with the straight. Everybody seems surprised what these players had. But a small pot, still a pot, Franke. Well done. We need to get Dark Angel out to one of these stops. I know Dark Angel will be on the road soon. She will be going to the island of Malta in about a month.
Three raise 2, 4 raise 5, 5 raise 35, 6 fold, 7 raise all in.
So I'm not quite sure what's going on again, but Franke already has 35 euro in front of him. Okay, so we're catching up with the graphics. It was a raise to 5, Franke 3-betting with his 10s. That'll thin out the crowd a little bit. Ante calling with his King Jack. Nick getting rid of his King 10, and Steven, let's see what he decides to do with his suited connectors.
2 folds. 3
Into the muck. And James giving a sneak preview over to Alex, who has already folded. He will not be playing the King 8. Oh, it was Ante just tossing it in for a flip. Franke's going to call. Franke has a little bit more equity, but it's basically a flip here, like it would be in Hold'em. Safe flop for Franke. Will it hold? And it holds. So Franke back in business after a couple reloads there. Yeah, I mean, you probably won't see as much fun as these guys are having on the table, Donna. I mean, everybody has fun at the, not everybody, but most players have a lot of fun at the Cash Game Festival, but this is something truly special. I'm not sure how much strategy is going into the players' minds, which maybe is a good thing. It makes my job a little bit easier. I don't have to pretend that I know about short deck strategy. I do know the basics. I do not know any advanced short deck strategy. I'm not going to pretend I do. As much as I'm a mixed game player, it's not one that I've played enough where I feel that I'm an expert in this game.
You know what's weird is that everyone's having so much fun that nobody's been.
For real money, maybe I've played like 100 or 2 hands of live short deck in my life. Not quite a lot. I haven't played any short deck online.
For call. 5, raise 4.
So it looks like Jiminy opening up with a limp, or a min raise in this case, because it does say call, but it's counting in the dealer ante as blind. Frankie doing the min click over to 4. We don't know what he has. Nick calling, Steven calling. They both have the same hand, same suits, but a little bit inverted. Alex calling long, and then Jimmy just with the outright jam from under the gun for 150 out of nowhere.
17.
So James looking to gamble a little bit.
€4.
Let's see if Nick wants to gamble along.
You fold. Fold.
Nobody wants to gamble. James shows the jack. He did not have the 6 to go along with it. Don, I know you're just tuning in fairly recently, so you don't know about the Jack 6 game they're playing, but for those of you just tuning in, if you win a hand with Jack 6, which is a very bad hand in short deck, you will get 15 euros from each player. So we did see some big raises from players with Jack 6 early on in the stream. We did see, I believe it was Nick win with Jack 6. No, it was Frankie win with Jack 6. And win a nice pot at the time, but then Frankie lost a couple pots after that. But it's an extra 105 euros with there being 8 players on the table into your pocket on top of whatever you win in the pot. Yeah, it's exactly like the 7 deuce game, but there's no deuces on the table, so the lowest card is actually a 6, but it's exactly the same, Donna.
Position 5.
How that would work.
6 fold. 7, 4.
So Frankie raising it up to 10.
Find out. Whoever figures it out fastest wins.
Head raise 45.
Ante making the call. George 3-betting his ace-10, driving up the action. He gets Nick to fold a better hand with the ace-jack. Let's see what Steven does with his 9s he calls.
4 fold.
Alex folds, James folds. Back around to Franke, who calls, and I think we will see Ante make it a almost 200 euro pot pre-flop.
Players.
So pretty sick flop here. The ace-jack that Nick had, he might be scratching his head now. He would have had the nuts.
7 but all in.
Ante jamming with the open-ender.
2 fold.
It will likely get through in this case. Nobody can really call him. I'm not sure what Franke's thinking about here. Even you, Franke, you don't have to be thinking about calling here. You're basically drawing to a jack, Franke, and if Ante had any aces in his hand, you wouldn't be even drawing to that. And it's certainly possible that Ante would have a hand like ace-jack. So Franke's showing his opponents his hand, and he's like, what do I do here? I certainly have to get it in, but he folds it. It's well done, Ante. Sam looking good still, up about almost 400 big blinds. He bought in for 200. It says big blinds, but there isn't really a big blind. It's 400 antes. There is no small blind or big blind in this game. All players are anteing 2 euros. The button is tossing in an extra 2.
please.
It's the first time we've hosted a game at the Cash Game Festival where there hasn't been a small and big blind.
Two right here. Yeah, okay.
And then give us 20 seconds and then did we all drink?
6, 7, 4.
A couple early folds there. We don't know. Ante with the Queen 6, certainly one that should go snap into the muck.
10.
Remember, 6 is the lowest card in the deck. George jacking it up to 10. He must have something there. Nick with the Jack 6. I'm not sure if Jack 6 suited entitles you to anything. It may be just Jack 6 off. If you win the hand, Alex just getting it in with the Ace Jack suited. George tossing it in for a bit more. Does Nick want to gamble here? If there is no Jack 6 game when it's suited, this should be a very quick fold. So maybe the Jack 6 is in effect when it's suited, and it looks like after Nick folds that isn't the case.
Don't win, bro. You don't know who this guy is.
And George's cards are shown now. King Jack suited. He's in a bit of trouble. Needs a king, needs some spades, and an ace right out of the window. 2 aces out of the window. George is not going to get back into this hand. Doubles up Alex, and quads for Alex. 4 of a kind for Alex. You'll see that happen a little bit more often with short
I might
deck.
be going Freetown.
Alex flashing the ace, rubbing it in a little bit. Half the table here is from the United Kingdom, a little bit more even. We have Nick, Alex, James, Sam, and George, all from the United Kingdom. We have Ante, and Steven also, I believe, lives in the United Kingdom, so 6 of the 8 from the United Kingdom. Franke is from Sweden, and Ante from Finland.
Trying to give back to the community.
Ante getting rid of his ace-6 suited.
Service poprosím.
Suited cards have less value, I would say, in short deck because it's much harder to hit flushes. So it doesn't really bring things like 8-6 into like a playable hand unless you're really deep. Franke all in. So Steven understands he can get a bit extra from the Jack 6 game. He may even call it off here. There is an extra 105 in equity for Steven if he wins the hand, so he doesn't quite have that. Does Steven want to gamble? Nick takes a look at Steven's cards. They both just start cracking up that he has the Jack 6.
Jack 6.
Does not want to play it. We'll never know if the Jack 6 would have gone there.
Frankie, can we see a flop this time, please? See all the cards.
So back to the action once again. It looks like a normal hand, no bump pots.
8 fold. 1 fold.
And Steven with Jack 6 and back-to-back hands. Is he going to try to bet a little bit more, hoping, nope, it's up to 20.
All in.
And this time, if it's just James, he's going to be willing to gamble with the extra equity for the Jack 6 game. James just shipping the odd in with ace-king suited, not a bad hand at all. Franke's hand is a bit more speculative with the Queen Jack, and now it's going to be harder for Steven to make the call. Same issue as last time.
138. 6, 7, 4.
It folds back around to Steven. He's counting up his chips. Nick knows what's going on.
so sick, man.
2 fold.
Lets it go, back-to-back hands, but this somebody could have seen if he would have won the Jack-6 game. So it's a bit of a flip situation. Not 100% sure why. It might have been because of the missing cards. An ace right out the window, 2 aces out the window. Jimmy looking very good here, unless a 10 comes. No 10. Full house for Jimmy. James back up over 300. Frankie's been like a roller coaster, down to 287 euros. I don't even want to blink when I'm watching this, because if you blink too long, you're going to miss some fireworks. It's every hand, hand after hand after hand seems to be a big pot. We're about halfway through the Cash Game Festival of Bratislava, but some of the biggest and best action is yet to come. We're midway through day 3. There's 2 more days of action. Our TV table action will conclude tomorrow, because going on at the same time is the 50 grand tournament upstairs, and we will be streaming their final table for them. That's why we're packing 3 streams in today, 3 more tomorrow.
4 fold.
So we do have a small pot now, relatively speaking, pre-flop, although Franke brings it up to 10, so that changes a bit.
7, 8 fold.
And Sam now with the Jack-6. That will likely... Steven calling with the Jack-9. Interesting, and Franke just making the flat. So I said this pot might not be a big one, but we're up to 170 euros, so I stand very corrected here. And Steven flopping 2 pair.
2 bet all in.
He's got to feel pretty confident about this hand now. He's all in, overbet the pot. Franke with some equity.
180.
Not quite sure how his percentages are so high in this hand. A 10 gives him a straight. Otherwise, he needs some combination of cards. Franke lets it go, and Sam, who has Jack-6 equity, makes the call, and he's going to get the bad news that he is very, very behind. And Steven improves to a full house, wins the hand. He's got closer to Sam's. And everybody's happy that Steven got it in there. When they saw that Sam had the Jack-6, it saved them another 15 euro each.
What a player. I love it. Wow, Ray, you called the 50 with Jack-9 off.
The amount of fun on the table on a scale of 1 to 10 is about a 13 going on right now. This is not the game you want to play if you're not looking to have fun.
Get the lot.
Empty, please. Empty. 2 euro.
So an update of the stacks. For the first time in a while, Sam is dipped below 1,000, but still has the most chips on the table. I have a feeling we're going to see these numbers change around quite a bit, being that every pot seems to be a fairly big one. Looks like Steven reaching for some chips. Raises it to 10. Franke raising it to 30. I don't know if that'll scare Sam out of the pot. It does. Ace 9's not particularly good anyway, even if it's suited in this game. George having no reason to keep going with the 8s.
Call, position 1. 30. 2 call, 3-5.
So it's a 106-year-old pot, but it's like ho-hum, like this is like a small pot for some reason.
Two check. 5 check.
Steven having the most equity, but this isn't necessarily the kindest of flops for him. It does check around. Now he should be more confident. He has the Broadway. If a player has the flush, oh well. Both of his opponents have much smaller stacks than he does, so I don't think he's going anywhere this hand. He has to think he's good. It does bet a pot-sized bet now as well. Franke with 2 pair. He knows that's not good. Good fold, Franke. And Nick also with the straight has more equity in the hand. He is free-rolling Steven also with Broadway, but Steven has to call at this point. And does. So it is a chop pot. No club. Was a small free roll there for Nick though. But not much Steven can do, especially after he opened up for half the pot. Actually opened up for a full pot, but I mean half of Nick's chip stack.
Unlucky, bro. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's poker, Phil.
And we see Nick there with the Make Poker Great Again hat, repping the cause. He did not win a feature table yet, so he didn't get compliments of doing that, but I believe Franke was nice enough to give him his hat when Franke won the day 1 PLO feature table.
Please, I'm blind. No chips.
Oh yeah.
And 2 more. 2 more on the button, please. Position 3 call. 4 raise.
Many of our players are, I believe, on the way back from the VIP dinner that was taking place today in the TV Tower, a rotating restaurant.
75. 7, 8 fold.
We'll try to get some reviews from the players about how the food was, how the view was. And Franke ready to gamble, so it went from 4 to 75, and now Sam just jamming in the lot. What's going on, Sam? So, whether it's suited or not, the Jack-6 game is in play. It doesn't have to be Jack-6 off. And Franke's never folding here, but his equity is actually not that bad here.
I still don't have your €2 for
And the chances of either of a flush coming on the board is almost nothing now, being that there's only 5 more hearts in the deck. Both of his cards are very live. The equity calculator you see is showing Sam's actually ahead, but that's only because other players had kings and tens buried through. And does... Ooh, 2 hearts on the board. Will the river complete?
Oh, it's Jack-6.
Wow, bit of
Jack-6 again, oh my god, he's
bit of an unfortunate circumstance once again for Franke.
anything, Franke.
I don't think any of the table is happy about this either. 15 euros from each player over to Sam.
Oh my god,
And I think Sam is happier about winning the Jack-6 game than he is about winning the pot there. And he's back over 1K, so he's table captain once again.
You had hearts too.
We could see a really big winner on this stream if we see Sam and Steven collide here.
Position 5, 200.
How sick are you just shipping it?
Yeah, Donna, we have like a similar rotating TV tower in Vilnius too, so I would have loved to attend the one in Bratislava, but duty calls.
20 please.
and I get to be treated to be into the commentating booth, which isn't something I get to do as often as I used to at the Cash Game Festival. We do have our main commentator, though, George, on the table, so he does love playing short deck. He's been doing a good job all week. Why not see if he can win some money on the stream as well for people that have been tuning in for him. And I'm not just being nice to George because I'll be likely on the Sviten special stream at the end of the festival. George is a very good poker player. He is also a very good commentator. So Franke raising it with 8-6. I'm not sure this is an ideal strategy here. Sam raising it up with the 3-bet with the ace-10, also from early position, a little bit of a loose play. Right now he does have a pretty strong hand though. Nick just making the call with the ladies. And now Jimmy tossing in the lot with the Jack-6. This Jack-6 game is making a lot of havoc. And it seems like Jack-6 doesn't actually do as bad as 7-Deuce would in Hold'em. Or at least based on the small sample size we've seen so far, it seems like Jack-6 has been hitting.
That's incredible.
Franke has a better percentage equity-wise according to what's being shown on the screen than I think he really would have. I mean, there's even a 6 that Jimmy has with a better kicker. Maybe his 8 is fully live, maybe that's why. But he wants to gamble. This is just a pure gamble. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick came along, and he does.
I pay. Jack-6 suited, I pay.
This is absolutely insane. So we're 3-way all in for a €729 pot with €2 antes just starting this off. And 2 of the hands are Jack-6 and 8-6. What is going on? And the graphics have been spot on all week. So this is 99.9% likely what the players have.
You called.
And I'm pretty sure all the players looked at their cards.
I said I pay and then
Nick's hand is looking very good at the moment. He got in his money the best in this situation. Let's see if he can triple up his stack. So maybe I missed something here because Steven has cards. The hand wasn't complete. The hand was to be completed by Steven. So now we have a €754 pot. Nick looking for pretty much a triple up. He has a 2/3 chance of doing just that.
It's gonna be sidepot. I just made pot.
And the jack hits the board. Will a 6 follow or another jack? It does not. Nick's pre-flop equity holds post-flop and all the way through. Good triple up for you, Nick. Well done. Never mind when the player gets it in good winning. The rest of the table will probably be celebrating shortly when they see that James had the Jack-6, that they don't have to pay him off.
I'll be back in a minute, yeah?
I'm not sure if Franke is done or just taking a quick break. He was in for a few buy-ins.
Position 5.
If I lose his hand, I'm going home. He shows his Kieran Dyer's playing in the hand. And he's blind. He didn't see what. Oh my god! He didn't see what the flop was. And he fucking turns around and he goes, oh my god, I've got quads! He's got 2 10s in his hand.
Anti-blues.
All in for like 1k each blind.
So we have about an hour left of action, so still a lot can change here.
Gentlemen.
But based on what we're seeing so far, I'm pretty sure the big winner of this table will win the mixed game trophy. They will have to sweat the winner of the Sviten Special match tomorrow. Along with the trophy, the player that wins the most big blinds on those two tables will win a Cash Game Festival package valued at $1,000 euros to the Poker Room Bucharest. In the Romanian capital, they may see Dracula from nearby Transylvania. It's on October 16th to 20th, right around the corner. There's information over on our website. You can contact us at any time if you're thinking of coming.
3 fold.
And back into the action, George raising it up with the rooks. Stephen coming along with Jack 9.
6 fold.
No, the hand was already dealt when you said play slow. No, we're now pretending to play in slow motion. You can't drop your chips.
And it looks like we're going to have the smallest pot pre-flop in a long time. And it does look like we have 3 players in. The graphics hopefully will come back up soon. George making the check.
Keep a straight face.
Stephen with the Jack 9 suited. Here we go. Good flop, middle pair.
You ruined it, bro. What are you doing?
Opting to make a bet here. Sam with a gut shot, but the jacks are almost dead for him. There's only 1 jack left in the deck. Yet making the raise. It is showing his equity at 28%, which is better than I would think it would be. And it's going to be very hard for Stephen to continue here. So, very nice play by Sam there, using a little aggression to take down a pot, despite not hitting much of that board.
Deal him in, and he will full blinds.
So James showing a short stack at 39 euros. I'm not sure if that is correct. It doesn't look like he has a lot of chips, so if it's not correct, it's very close at least. See you soon, Donna. Thanks for your help.
I feared him with ace king high with the backdoor diamonds. I'm like, well,
The raise 10.
it's 50-50. He said George wins.
So Jorge over here with the
George winning at the
king,
moment, like,
queen, raising it up to 10 from under the gun.
why is he paid? Why is he paid?
3 fold.
Stephen did win a big hand earlier with the 10-7 suited, so trying to come along. Lots of diamonds out there though, so we certainly won't be seeing any flushes. Were the diamonds with 6 of them out and only 9 in the deck. Of course, anything is possible with 3 more diamonds to go. And as I say that, 2 of them come out. So the players with the diamonds won't be going anywhere, and then we could see some big action. Meanwhile, it's George with middle pair and a Broadway gut shot draw, leading the action out. That's 30. Stephen calling. Jimmy with the royal flush draw that is blocked by Stephen.
4 raise 75.
Raising it up to 75. And now it's going to be hard for Sam to continue along. Although he did reach for chips. Makes the fold. Well done, Sam.
And 2 raise all in.
And Stephen making the call. So now if we see the case, Stephen jamming.
And I want to go
24.
Wow. So there was another diamond already out of the deck, so there's no flush actually possible. Stephen just drawing to the 3 queens, basically. And there we go. There's one of the queens. But there could be a redraw, no redraw.
No, he says, oh no!
That is very unfortunate for James. He got it in good. He even had the royal draw that was blocked by Steven, but he had the flush draw, he had second pair, he had a Broadway draw. All Steven had was the Broadway draw, but thinking maybe he had a live flush draw as well. Gets lucky, hits his 3-outer, and wins the pot. And Steven now near 1K, coming near the table leaders.
Position 4 and on
Short deck! Short deck!
So Sam and Steven pretty neck and neck in terms of stack sizes. George with the short stack, it may just be flicked in pretty soon. He may reload. I know George likes to play other games fairly deep. Maybe this one where he doesn't hasn't studied it as much. He's happy just to play out his short stack.
And then he still had any fucking diamond.
I do think, though, George has to be one of the more knowledgeable players about this game on the table. He did win a trophy in this event,
call.
so at least he knows a little bit about short deck tournament strategy, or developed it along the way.
95% of the flopping short deck is like
2 call, 3 call, 4 call,
good.
5 call, 6 call.
Really? Yeah, it's amazing. I'm really getting used to it.
Well, we haven't seen this in a while, folks. A limp pot. It almost seems a little boring when it's only 24 euros in the pot going to the flop. But it really isn't. This is how short deck is very often played, where you see a lot of min bets and a lot of players coming to the flop. We've just been in for a treat, players having fun.
This guy's just staring at my stack for literally, he's doing this.
So George checking. It looks like it goes around the Franke with middle pair and not much else. The one leading the way, Ante with the 2 pair, not going anywhere. I'd be surprised if George continued along, but you never know. And it looks like Ante just raised a min-click raise and got a fold from Franke. So that wasn't the call by Ante before, it was a raise, and he took down the pot. So there's a big gap in those pre-flop raise percentages. Franke showing a 61% pre-flop raise percentage, more than double than anybody else at the table. Playing this game a bit aggressively. Franke is known for his aggression, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It makes the game a lot more high variance for you, but sometimes aggression can win you pots. So I think after seeing a small pot going to the flop, we'll see something different now. I can't see this lineup being able to sit back and keep tight and not want to get as many of their chips in as possible, but so far there's a lot of opening for the minimum amount. Sam bumping the it's a bump pot, that's why. So we had a dealer change, it was a bump pot. Everybody put in 25 euros before the flop. So we are at 216 euros already, which means there will be a nice pot for somebody no matter what happens. No extra money for any potential jack 6 in anyone's hand. I checked around to George, who has bottom pair, a gut shot Broadway draw, and a gut shot royal draw. His flush draw would be good as well. If anybody called with a club in their hand, nobody has a higher club than a 10. James not afraid to get it in with just top pair. He actually wouldn't be looking too bad depending on what else happens. It's showing him at 6%, but he is ahead in the hand. Franke thinking things over, also with top pair. I'm guessing he has a higher percentage showing because there were no 6 burns, and Sam is showing a 7. Ante has a 7, but there's 2 of the 7s out. And George with the 2-to-1 advantage despite being technically behind if the hand ended on the flop. He had a spades mix at a coin flip. Oh my god! Wow! Wow, royal flush. That might be the first Royal Flush ever on a Cash Game Festival stream. And it was done by our Cash Game Festival commentator, George. Holy cow. Did that just happen? I am just speechless. A Royal Flush on the stream, folks. I know the odds of getting a Royal Flush are a little bit higher in short deck. I don't know what the actual odds are, but a Royal Flush. Wow. If they were playing one of the casino games instead of a poker game, there would have been a nice bonus for that. Instead, George wins a nice hand with his Royal Flush. That should also put him ahead in the high hand contest. They might as well end that hour now, because every hour players have been getting a €25 for free on Pokio if they've had the highest hand during that time frame to play in our CGF Pokio Club, where you can play a lot of games, including Sweet Special, including No Limit Hold'em, including 4-card and 5-card Omaha and Open Face Chinese. You can also win some Cash Game Festival packages, including to our next stop in Bucharest on October 16th to 20th. And those of you thinking of signing up to Pokio, just go right ahead and do it right now, because we will give you €25 for free if you follow the instructions in the Twitch chat box, which include signing up and letting us know what your screen name is. So George showing why he is the short deck master. He can get royals whenever he needs them. Whenever you could do that, you are just automatically master of the game, whether you know the game or not. Donna, unfortunately, Pokio is not available right now in the UK. They are a licensed online poker app, but they're not available in the United Kingdom, because right now they're not licensed in the United Kingdom. They're very stringent on their licensing policy. They want to make sure wherever they operate, they're fully legal. So we have a three-way all-in going in. Steven having both players cover. Steven nailing the goods, the nuts on the board. James's short stack is gone. Franke's short-ish stack is gone. Steven up to 1.2k. Life is good. He's in very good shape to be the chip leader on the table. Very good shape to actually win the mixed game trophy as well.
I was literally debating in my head whether I was going to say thanks to everyone for coming and playing on the short deck stream. It's a shitload of fun, and then obviously people do bollocks. My hands all in,
So showing the table is six-handed, but Franke didn't go anywhere. James didn't go anywhere. The two of them are chatting over there in seats 4 and 5. James was on last night's 2-5 stream, providing a little banter, a little bit of fun. Franke was on the PLO stream, and he said, can you make sure there's a seat for me on this short deck table as well? So he made it 7 players, and then when the table saw Steven walk up, and Steven's like, can I play too? Normally we were going to cap it out at 7. We didn't pull the chair away. Everybody at the table said, Steven, come on along. You like to have fun. You like to, you know the drill. And now Steven could walk away with a nice bit of profit and a good chance at winning a Cash Game Festival Bucharest package as well. We'll have to wait to see if that actually holds, not only through today's stream, but tomorrow's Sweet and Special stream. The player that wins the most money on either of those streams will walk away with the Cash Game Festival Bratislava Mixed Game Trophy and the package that I was talking about. Thanks, Dark Angel, for the attempt to clip it. We'll make sure that that gets in there. It'll likely be in our recap highlights tomorrow for day 3. Even if it isn't the most interesting strategic hand. I mean, how often do you see a freaking royal flush?
He can't. There is a less
So Franke back to gambling a little bit. We have Jack 7 suited, a very speculative hand in short deck. It's a bit better than Jack 6, actually, because you have a straight possibility. James gambling as well with his Queen 10 offsuit, so now things are getting wild and crazy. Neither player with the goods. Quite a bit in the pot already. So it was James all in first, then Franke, then Sam, isolating the rest of the group here. George getting it in too. What the heck is going on here? Wow, a 2K freaking pot. What is going on? Maybe they're playing for the package equity. I don't see how the Svethen stream is going to compete with this in terms of big winners. So I think the biggest winner of this table will win the package. I'm not sure that was legal, Nick. There was a trading of cards. Steven making fold. It looked like maybe they didn't really do it. We know what Nick has, though. Nick was folding as well. So it's a 1.5K pot. Nick did not call. And a queen of clubs, 8 of clubs, jack of clubs. Flop, we do not know what Sam has. We have a bit of sweat going on. Franke with the jack 7. That is no good. Right now, Jimmy. Right now it would be George ahead with the 2 pair. And let's see what Sam has. Oh, they're running it twice, though. Just to make it a little bit more confusing, they ran it twice. Did Sam have jack 6 here? I wouldn't put it to past Sam. It looks like Sam had king hearts, 9 of hearts, which I don't believe hit either board. No, it hit the second board because no player had an ace. So Sam wins half the pot, George wins the other half. For the second time in recent times, both Jimmy and Franke are felted. So this adds about another 200 to Sam, maybe 250. He might be the table captain now, ahead of Steven. These chip counts are wrong because they ran it twice, unless I missed something there. I don't think George won the second board.
No, I get all. Give. I win.
Trying to take a look at George's stack there, and it's rather big. It doesn't look like it's 1.5K big though, but it does look about 1K big. Those green ones on the bottom, there's about 4 of them, and then that's 400. Maybe another 400 in yellows. He might be at like 900, maybe a 1K. And Sam looks like he has about 10 green ones. I'm not quite sure if the chip stacks are updated from that hand or not. I apologize for that. Whenever it's run twice, it does get a little bit confusing for tracking. Carpet Catcher, it's not specifically for short deck, but tomorrow's Svethen special, and there's a special trophy for mixed games. But based on what we've seen so far, it would. First of all, there's less hands played during Svethen special, and it is a split pot game, and the action has been wild here. So maybe we got a wild Svethen table as well that can compete with this, but it's hard to say that I've seen anything quite like this. But it's good to know George has his fans, Carpet Catcher.
That's 40.
Yeah, the winner of this should win.
So Ante with flopping fairly okay with Ace King. Franke making the call, hoping for something. Oh my God, Franke hits the queen. He's still not out of the water yet, though. He needs to fade a 10, but he's going to be going nowhere. He should know that Ante doesn't have something like King 10 and doing that, but who knows at this table. 75 for Ante. Franke Needs to decide whether just to ship it in here. He does just ship it in here. Ante's going to make the call most likely. He can never really be folding here. Does make the call. No 10 on the board, so Franke wins the pot. Has a double starting stack because he bought in for 200 every single time. I'm not sure how many times he needs to double in order to be ahead, as he has reloaded a few times as well. So at this point, I think we have to assume that these stacks are correct. So if it is the case, George is up quite a lot. He should be happy to have left the booth if this is indeed correct. Up well north of 1,000 euro. Definitely a good hourly rate regardless of the stakes that you're playing at the Cash Game Festival. Okay, on to the next hand. It seems to be less drinks on the table right now. Let's see what Franke has from under the gun. I think he'll be playing most of his hands anyway, but maybe he has something because it is a raise to 10. Probably commentating with Franke in the dark, not knowing his hand, is the hardest because Franke really can have any two cards.
What does George win?
We can't range Franke at all. But so far it's getting through over to Nick with the Queen 10. This is a playable hand, even though it's not suited. The suitedness doesn't really add too much value anyway. It is a hand that hits boards quite well, typically, in short deck. It may even be ahead of Franke's range. Does make the call. Steven going nowhere likely either. Calling behind. Alex doing the same with this 8-7. Sixes are pretty much trash in this game. James agrees, and we're looking at a four-way pot, 50 euros. So I say the sixes were trash, but that would have led to a full house here. But Nick could have drawn to a better full house anyway. We do not know once again what Franke has. I don't think he has a 10-6 kind of hand. We know he doesn't have pocket sixes because two of the sixes are dead.
Six. No queen. Six. Anything. Six.
Not winning.
Sorry, folks. Maurits popped in real quick. He had a quick question about the upcoming TV table. And does anybody have a king? What did Franke have? Not good enough to beat Nick's full house. Nick seems happy to have won a small pot there. Normally a 154-euro pot in a game where it's a €2 ante or a €2 blind would be a big pot, but in this case, from what we've seen, it's actually on the smaller end of pots. So, Carpet Catcher, what are you up to this weekend? How's life been? So some mystery hands going on. It folds around to Nick, who also folds Steven with the Jack-6. So because of the Jack-6 game, Steven will be playing this hand. It's almost as much of a pride thing, trying to get that 15 euros from each player by winning with Jack-6, and it is about the actual money. The money doesn't hurt. Alex calling with the 10s. I guess it kind of helps you balance your premium hands as well when you're raising with Jack-6. Although it seems like in Steven's case, he's raising more with Jack-6 type of hands than he is with some of his other holdings. So already 106 in the pot. No clubs for anyone. So Franke's top pair right now leads the way. Does need to fade some cards less now. He has the check mark, so I guess other players had 10s that are dead. Otherwise, I don't understand how he can have a check mark. So Steven leading out for 100. And it's going to be tough for Franke actually to call. So Steven wins with the Jack-6. Wow, well played, Steven. Wow. So Steven picking up a little extra, 15 euros from each player, heading over to Steven's way for winning the Jack-6 game. Does win a nice pot, betting Franke off it as well. Cost 100 bet to potentially win 105 off the others. That's why you see chips flying around Steven's way. It looks like some change being tossed over to Ante's way.
Servis poprosím.
Carpet Catcher will be just taking it easy over the weekend. Not played much since getting back from Spain. We'll get back to playing Monday after getting a Malta package. Have you won? I'm not sure I understand that end. Have you won a Malta package, or are you trying to get a Malta package? Franke with the pocket rockets, raising it big and large to 35. Doesn't look like it's scaring Steven away. He has actually not terrible equity here. If it was run blind the rest of the way, it'd win 1 out of 3 times, and his equity certainly improved here with the open ender. Backdoor flush draw, all sorts of love going on. Will Steven be betting it out? And Franke folding his aces. I mean, it was a flip situation, but I guess it's hard to really be playing aces in this game. So well done. Steven's showing aggression at the right times in this stream. Very impressed with Steven's play.
The dealer is so you lost 15 euros. It's all in.
Me? No way. Yeah. You win a big pot?
George just jamming the lot here, or all players all in pre-flop? What's going on here? In for 1.5k. I'm not sure if that is a misclick Or not.
He gets a free trip to Bucharest anyway.
829. 800.
Was George just all in blind? George will tell you when he comes back to commentate the next stream. I'm not quite sure what's going on though.
Yeah, I know. Wow, yeah.
If that's indeed what happened though. Okay, so George's stack is updated. It is what I thought it was when it was the split pot earlier. So you're going to see now Sam having a fairly big stack. Is Steven going to be able to make the call here? I mean, they do have package equity. I don't know if we're nearing the end of the stream or what is going on here. At the end of the day, you're tossing in a ton of money with King Queen suited from under the gun. There is no bump pot. Alex calling though with his short stack with Queen 8 suited. Is Frankie going to call along as well?
What's he saying?
Not surprised Frankie's calling. I mean, a 10-9 is not horrible. In this case, you know, if we're nearing the end of the stream, maybe Frank is trying to spin it up a bit.
Second biggest.
Sorry, George, but like anyone
And Ante with only 50 left, he's also got 10-9, so that's going to be bad news for Frankie as well because they're kind of canceling each other out. And an 831 euro pot. Will we see that 7 come? We do see a 7, so Frankie and Ante have locked up this pot. Frankie winning a little more because of the side pot. This may take a little time for the dealer to sort out because there's side pot galores. Who wins the big side pot here? It would be Alex winning the other side pot if Frankie, I believe, had more than Alex, so Frankie wins all the side pots, and then he chops the main pot with Ante.
Oh my god, what? No way. He's like, I might not be going to Romania so
So Frankie up to 722 euros now, getting some of his money back. Ante basically effectively doubles up to 109 euros. George still ahead on the table, but losing a little bit there, and Alex, it's not really the best of news for Alex right now with all of his chips going to Frankie and Ante.
I'm in for 4, but I can still, like, if I stack you, you know, you lose, but you lose everything, and I win. Then I'm up 12.
It looks like this was sorted out fairly quickly, actually. Well done, dealer.
Perfect.
And 2 glasses of wine for Sam, double fisting. A glass of white for the right hand, a glass of white for the left hand. Six streaming instead of 6 tabling. I can't even 6 table anymore, Donna. There was a time when I was able to do that. Now if I play online, I'm at most playing 4 tables, and it's usually just, you know, 2 tables. If I'm playing like a mixed cash game somewhere, it's just 1 table, so I can pay attention. I'm getting slower in my older age. So we don't know what Nick has, but it looks like he already folded, so it's sort of irrelevant. Looks like an open 4-2 by Steven. Not a very good hand there, but he can get away from it pretty easily. Frankie with the Jack-6 just jamming in the lot. And George just calling and getting up and running around, sweating a potential big double up. James with the fairly shortish stack is not afraid to gamble here. He does have fairly good equity. Oh my, 2 jacks out of the window. Oh my God, Franke could win a massive pot here. And it's Franke not only winning this massive pot, but also wins 15 euros from each player. I do not believe Franke, even though he has a big stack now, would be in the lead for the table profit at the moment. That would either be with Sam or with Steven. But everybody's going to have to give Franke 15 euros. George can't be too happy there. He had the best of the best. Hey, how are you? You want to join for the last bit of the stream? No spoilers, please.
No spoilers, alright. Hello. What are we up to?
So you can see yourself right now. Franke just jammed in the goods with the Jack 6. And Georgie boy over here, he called it snap call with the kings and started like running around a little bit.
Yeah. So there's a weird side dynamic going on because of the package, like the Bucharest trip, the €1,000 package, whatever it is. So we're all sweating. I was in the lead at this point, and this big pot obviously swings that.
It does, but Franke is in for so many buy-ins, so he can't be in the lead.
So I was happy with this result.
You were happy with this result. Because if George wins this hand, then it's between you, George, and Steven, because Steven's pretty close with you.
Yeah. So it's like a 3-way race now.
And your chips mostly came early on, and you haven't fluctuated too much from there.
We just got it in blind.
Yeah, it was just the blind hand. We said you were the expert flipper, but then you...
I am the expert flipper.
But then you won a hand.
Yeah, I am pretty good at flips, though.
Here we are on camera. The good-looking one in the pure, the hat is off. With the hat off is Sam. The older guy over there with the Benetton hat, that's me, Jason. What can you do? Age and beauty. You know, it's. But it's been like.
What you thought of the stream?
It's been like this. It's my first ever short deck commentating, but I've learned absolutely nothing about short deck doing it. But it's just been the most entertaining thing ever of all time.
We were saying on the table actually, we think short deck is the best game for streams because there's a lot of action, lots of all-ins, and it kind of creates this like friendly, like jokey around atmosphere.
Especially at these stakes, right? So even though chips are flying, there's
so
nobody at the table is going to be upset about losing 500 a grand.
We all bought in for 200 as well, so we all short stacked it, and they're just getting rifled in whenever there's any decent 2 cards.
So what made you guys decide to do the flip? Like I couldn't figure out. I have no volume on the table on my end.
Basically, James was like, "Let's do a flip," and we
did a flip.
we love it. So we just rifled it in. What's going on here?
Do you think there's anybody at the table that actually knows how to play the game
has
well?
an edge? No.
Yeah. No edge. No edge anywhere.
No, not really. Maybe George, but
I've seen George play. Nobody's playing tight. Let's face it. But George is playing.
I had a
cards a little bit more than the rest, I would say.
Yeah. I had a strategy of if in doubt, go all in, and it worked out.
And Steven likes to see a lot of flops if they're cheap.
Yeah.
And not afraid to gamble with hands like King Jack.
This is a great hand.
Steven flopping the set. So Steven shouldn't even be in this hand with the 6s and flopping a set. Franke with the top pair. Nick with a double gutter.
Yeah.
So lots of things going on here.
Lots going on here.
And then 2 players with a massive stack. Nick making the call. I'm not sure how Franke's equity is so high. So the percentages I think have been way off on the short deck program.
Yeah, this doesn't seem right. But but to be fair,
really
equities do run a lot closer in short deck, but obviously a queen isn't doing very well against the.
He needs runner though to have any hope.
Definitely.
So Steven raising it up, trying to get some value or chase some players out of the hand with the set. He is chasing some outs. He doesn't want a 7, doesn't want a jack, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if bumping the pot is the best
Nick,
ideal situation.
It's a standard call here for Nick, I think. He's got a lot of implied odds.
Yeah, for Nick
some
it
deep
is.
stacks behind. And there it is.
Wow. So Nick has got to be happy, but he's got to be sweating as well.
Yeah.
Because he maybe knows that somebody has 2 pair or a set.
And he just shoves the 6s.
Just shoves the 6s and
for 600 effective.
I mean, Nick, you really have no choice here.
Now
you
guess
have
what
the
happens.
nuts.
Guess what's happening here. A slow roll is happening.
A slow roll?
A slow roll is happening right now.
And these two guys, I guess, are friends, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like a slow
and
roll.
So it's a friendly slow roll, and also like you say, we can't hear the volume here in the booth. What's happening now is Nick is asking Stephen how many times he wants to run it, and he gets Stephen to snap say 1 time.
Oh God!
And then,
so Stephen thinks he's actually good.
Yeah. Stephen assumes he's winning here.
Because there are some 9/8s and
look how pained he looks,
range.
and he puts it in.
Shit, he says. We could read the lips on that one.
Yeah. He puts it in. River 10.
Oh my God!
Slow roll failed.
Oh no!
So good.
Oh no!
It's so good.
Oh no! I feel your pain, Nick. I feel
Nick
it.
is now saying I run so bad I was going for the slow roll. So good.
Wow.
Unfortunately, this is bad news for me because Stephen is now winning.
So now you have to gamble.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see if you do, but it sounds like you have to gamble.
So I really wanted the trophy.
I wonder what the Sviten table is going to be like, because I don't know how many big blinds people are going to be up, but it's and there's going to be less hands played during Sviten as well, and it's split pot often.
From what I heard, the mixed game trophy was going to be won in this game because
it almost has to be.
Sviten apparently there's lots of like chop pots and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to rethink it in the future. The 3 trophy concept is a new one.
Yeah.
So we tried to do it as fair as possible, having the PLO and the Hold'em, but it's probably not fair to have the short deck competing against the Sviten, and we only learned that by watching this. But to be fair, you're not going to have a crazy ass table like this very often. I mean, there's not a single player at this table that isn't batshit insane. Even the Finnish guy, though, you put him on another table and all of a sudden he's going to be active. You know, it's like Ante has been the quietest and he hasn't lost a lot. He's definitely down some money, but maybe hopefully Ante's not disappointed because I know he signed up for the. For the short deck, maybe hoping for real short deck play.
Yeah.
And I can't say that we've really had that. We've had like most entertaining thing ever, but I can't say anybody that's been watching this has learned a single thing about short deck other than the rule. Donna's in the chat. She is 6-tabling modding.
Wow.
Yeah, I said I can't even 6-table poker anymore, and she's doing it as a mod. Yeah, the chat has been watching, but it's been relatively quiet. Even when the Royal hit, that was.
No respect for the Royals. All right, this is my I'm gambling hand.
So a little bit of a preview, not a complete spoiler. But we'll see. We'll see Jimmy probably fold here. Frankie, we can never tell what he's going to do. At least we can see what he has.
Correct.
I mean, this is a pretty good hand to open with, so Frankie's certainly not folding here. Considering he's been playing much worse than this, but maybe now that he has 1.3k in front of him, he's not going to go ape shit.
Wrong. Alright, so he raises to 4. We've all put in, I believe it was 25 as the ante here.
That's
so
why
the raise to 4
here
is just a joke, yeah.
So somebody is sitting out, I guess, because that didn't add up. Now we go. Now it's caught up. Oh, ante.
Is this my gamble hand? Maybe it's not.
This is a great spot for Ante, though. Even though he's maybe not ahead pre-flop, just because of the amount of money that's already in there due to the bump pot. And you wake up with King Queen, life is good, and short deck with King Queen multi-way.
That's pretty good.
And Steven's
not
going to go
got a
anywhere.
snap call here, obviously.
But is it going to be like Steven and Frankie gambling for like?
And he folded because he wanted the Bucharest trip, and I'm so angry.
A package equity fold. Usually it's like a pack. I mean, I did the exact opposite, like a hand for shame against Bobby. But this is a package equity fold. Maybe the smart way to play it.
This is the first ever ICM fold in a cash game. That's what happened there.
That is actually the smart thing to do.
Yeah, he's winning by quite a comfortable amount. I'm going to have to get in 700 free to catch him now, pretty much.
So Ante in good shape, unless something fancy happens here. We didn't see the board, but somehow he won the hand.
So Frankie said, show me both and I'll consider. And he showed him both and he went, and folded. He said if he wasn't dominated, he was calling. So.
You should be calling just about anything there, though. I think even
Yeah.
Queen 10 you should be calling there because of all the
Yeah.
money in the pot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not that much more to call.
77. Didn't he call in about 200?
No,
If he had more than 77, we
I
have
thought it was
George
about
in the
170.
background as well,
Yeah.
170.
giving us some background information, in which case I get
So,
his fold.
yeah.
But if
It was
77, he has
close
to
either,
snap
like
call,
you
and
say, it's close either way.
not even if Frank didn't look at his cards yet, he has to call.
Yeah.
So seat 3 is empty. Who is in seat 3?
That was Alex.
So Alex is out.
This is my gamble.
Okay, so we're going to get ready for some fireworks, and you're gambling with ace 6 suited, not necessarily the ace is nice, but not going along with the 6.
Not the best. So I decided to make it 100 here because of the fact that there was some big stacks that if they went all in, I didn't want to call.
But you do have a straight flush draw.
I do.
pre-flop.
This is basically like wheel ace suited in
Yeah.
normal hold'em. It's like the ace 2 to 5 because the ace can play as a 5, right?
So raising to 100, is anybody in the gamble along? Nick might, because unless no, we could see the 150 there.
Yeah.
He may just want to spin it.
He thinks
It's
about
not
it
a
and
bad hand to
folds.
spin with. He
Jimmy,
does not. And Steven wants to protect the package. Is that nope? He folds.
Yeah, no, he doesn't want to get involved with me obviously because if I win the hand, then he's
That was my mistake against Bobby.
yeah.
25 euro ante.
Oh, and it's another 25 euro ante. And so
The
you
last
guys
3
just
hands
said
we
we're gonna,
gambled it up, yeah, because they
we're-
wanted to give me a chance to catch up, I guess. Jimmy flexing in with the king 7 off.
And Franke, what is Franke gonna go nuts?
He just calls because
Okay.
because Jimmy's all in doesn't reopen the action, which is lucky for me because I feel like Frank here would have just gone all in, and then I would have had to fold probably. So we've got ace 6 against 8-7 and king 7.
And everybody's no, Jimmy's not suited.
No,
James is just having a little fun here.
he was getting an insane price as well. He only had like 140 in a stack. Or
And you
something.
guys can bet each other off flops as well.
Exactly.
So that is not the flop anybody wants to see, though.
No, it's not good for me. So it goes check check.
And the turn may make Frankie bet. I've seen Frankie bet on worse boards. Nope, it's going
Goes
check
check,
check again. And the river. So
And then I get slow rolled and think I've won as well. Because Jimmy says king high, I show the ace high, and then there we go.
Frankie with
fist
the
bump.
8-7 suited.
Yeah.
So Frankie has the biggest stack on the table now, but he's certainly not up a lot.
No,
I'm not even sure he's
he
up
is,
at all.
He is up a little bit, but nowhere near in contention.
And this helps out Steven quite a lot.
Yeah.
So is this the last hand
Taking
coming
some-
up?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so this is your opportunity.
I think
is
this
your
was
chance.
the official last hand, and then we have a bonus hand at the end.
A bonus hand.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the stream covers it actually. Hopefully it does.
No bonus hand.
No bonus hand.
So it looks like that Steven will win the mixed game trophy unless something crazy happens
didn't.
tomorrow during Speed.
Yeah.
Well, we'll maybe have to tell people you guys have to be crazy if you want a chance at the Bucharest package, and then maybe all of a sudden every hand is going to be 2, 2,
So I
4,
think he
8,
won
16,
something like-
32 straddle.
yeah. I think you won like 1.5k or something.
That's well done. Not a bad
Yeah.
2 hours work.
Yeah.
Steven seems like a nice guy. You know,
Yeah.
I liked everybody at the table.
I really liked the
everybody,
lineup this game. It was very friendly atmosphere, gambly. Obviously, short deck encourages that, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I really enjoyed that stream. That's my favorite stream so far.
Well, while you didn't win the package, at least you did book a nice profit. Nothing
Yeah.
to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
I know you have played a little bit of short deck in the past, though.
A little bit. I'm by no means an expert at this. A lot of the time, I didn't really know what to do in spots. Obviously,
And I think even if you were an expert, you couldn't be an expert
in that
against
game.
these opponents.
yeah. But no, I was actually saying that's the most angry I've ever been to book an 800 euro win.
In 2 hours.
Yeah, I was raging.
Only made 400 euros an hour.
Oh,
Come on.
I know, terrible.
I'm
yeah,
gonna go home and cry.
I know. As soon as I won that, the 100 euros each, all in pre kind of thing, I was like, I've got the trophy, surely. So
Little did you know.
yeah, disappointing, but
But thank you for joining for the last 15, 20 minutes. I had a blast watching. I hope you had a blast playing as well.
good, yeah.
And what are you off to now? What are you going to be doing? Are you
Well,
on
the short deck game's actually going to continue now.
So you're going to play some short deck on the
A
side.
little bit more short deck.
What about 5-10 Hold'em? Are you on the list for that?
No,
No? Would you
Well,
play 5-10 Hold'em?
I could be persuaded. Maybe.
Okay,
We'll
so
see.
maybe we will see Sam back. We will see George back in the booth.
Yeah.
You will not see me on the 5-10 Hold'em table. There's only 2 cards involved. And
no for you.
And it's not the best for my bankroll to be playing 5-10, especially with 2 cards.
Yeah.
But I'll be seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. Everybody just hang out for about 30 minutes and we will be back with some more action.
I've been to similar parties some days ago, some years ago, but this one is very high level.
Feel at home, sitting at the tables. The games are quite soft, to be honest, and it's nice people.
Make sure if you haven't been yet to Cash Game Festival, you have to come.
Crew is amazing, the people, everything. It's like, I didn't have high expectations, but I'm having massive fun. Honestly, it's crazy.
People around it. It doesn't matter if you work in this festival, you're visiting the festival, or you're a local person. We always had this gang together and everybody were like in a family.